All right. Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? I'm Austin Johnson. We're back with the breakdown.
I'm Drew Covington.
And today we have a special guest, a childhood friend since Little League. My dog, Alex Monis, Connecticut United soccer player and Philippines national team soccer player. Man, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. We decided since it's the World Cup, of course, right now, we wanted to we've been talking about it a lot, especially like me, I'm a casual fan, but I've been really getting into soccer more, like just learning more about the game. And so actually I got to shout out my dad. He gave me this idea. He was like, you should have Alex on the podcast, and I thought it was a great idea. So I think hearing about not only your journey as a soccer player, just going through the ranks. I mean, you're only a year older than me, but you've been a pro since you got out of high school. So
Right.
that in itself is crazy. And then also just hearing your experience and your perspective as a professional and playing against some of these guys that we see on TV, I think it would be just very interesting to hear and something great that we could talk about.
Absolutely.
Um, Drew, as an Arsenal fan, how do you, Alex, what team did you grow up following? And well, yeah, what team did you grow up following, and like, what would you say was your favorite as a kid?
So I'm very happy to hear that. I'm an Arsenal fan as well. Yeah, so that's
Oh yeah, oh
already
yeah, oh yeah.
good vibes already.
Flamboyant.
Yeah, so last year was a big year for the club. Little sad about Champions League for sure. But we took the Prem, so I'm happy about that. But I've been Arsenal fan since I don't know, maybe 8 years old, maybe even younger than that. So I've been through the trenches. So
That's very cool. I didn't know that, and so
yeah.
I'm glad y'all have something to bond over for sure. And that was gonna be like kind of my second question. With you also playing professionally, do you still pay attention and are still tapped in with the other leagues that are going on, especially like Champions League or like La Liga? How much time do you really have to like keep track of that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a huge football fan. Like I watch every game possible. I think it's not only fun for me to watch, but it's also like a place where I can learn and grow, seeing the guys at the highest level what they're doing and trying to apply those things to my game. So I'm always watching any type of game that's on.
Okay, for sure.
Um,
And oh, go ahead, Drew.
Now I was gonna ask, I guess, a follow up to that is like, what are guys do you watch either in the Prem, in the Champions League, in La Liga, or just like currently in the World Cup? What are guys that, or a guy that you look at their game and try and take either specific aspects of their game to emulate?
Right. I mean, really all the World Cup players, you see all those guys that they all have so much quality and I think the thing about them is they make very difficult things look very easy. And they do all the basics very well. And I think as a player for myself, like that's something that I want to get better at, staying consistent with the basics. And then how can I get better at those more difficult things? You see guys like Messi, Mbappe, they do things out of this world, but it seems like second nature to them. So it's cool watching all those guys. I mean, even like some of the, lower teams in the World Cup, it's like they still have so much quality. You can learn from those guys as well. So whether it's finishing, dribbling, even defensive stuff, like you can learn a lot from those guys.
Interesting to hear. I would say my next question would be, are there any guys, I'm assuming there are, who are some of the people that you have played against that have been in this World Cup, that you've seen so far?
Yeah, so there's a few guys. So I actually played with the one of the goalkeepers on the U.S. men's national team, Chris Brady. He's actually from Naperville, so he's a local guy. There's a player on Mexico who I played with at Chicago. His name's Brian Gutierrez. He's my age as well. So I grew up playing with him since basically 10, 11 years old. So it's really like a proud moment for me seeing, one of my boys playing at that stage. And then there's I played with Sheridan Shaqiri, who he wasn't in this current World Cup, but he's played the last three World Cups with Switzerland. So um, I've always watched him, and so being able to share the field with him at Chicago was cool because that's somebody that you idolize, and then all of a sudden it's your teammate.
Wow. I didn't I didn't know there was a guy from Naperville on the US team.
Yeah, yeah, he went to Naperville North, so
Um, are there any besides you two, are there any other people from this area that made it to like the MLS or pro soccer level?
yeah, there's quite a few. There's actually another goalkeeper from Liqua who plays in Cincinnati in MLS. A few of the guys from my academy team, we all signed young professional contracts together. So, um, like I said, like sharing those moments with the guys that you grow up playing with is cool, and they've all grown up doing great things at the highest level. So, it's cool to see, and I'm jealous that they're all there, but it's more so I'm just proud to see those guys at the big stage.
Of course, I understand. As a competitor, you still want to, of course, be at that stage as well. So I understand, but of course, you got to support your teammates and the guys that you grew up with.
For sure.
But I wanted to go into that a little bit. Um, what was your journey like coming up? I know that I remember growing up, we were it would be hard for our families to even like connect most of the time because you and your sister, she was also a Division I soccer player. You guys both would be at tournaments basically weekly, and even you would be out the country sometimes. So
Yeah.
at a very young age. So what was that like when you knew you're all in on well, football? You were all in, and like this is where I know I can really go be a professional. When did you figure that out, and when did you know like obviously no more baseball, no anything else?
Yeah. As you said, like, I mean, we grew up playing Little League baseball together. I probably till about maybe 10 or 11 years old. So I was doing baseball and soccer at the time. I loved both, but I think I was definitely better at soccer. So, I had to come to a point where I had to decide what to commit to in terms of with all the travel and stuff like that. It was hard to do both at once. So, it was hard to tell my dad that I didn't want to do baseball because, he played baseball in college. He was a coach and everything. So, but he was confident in my ability with soccer. So I went that route. At about 11 years old, I joined the Chicago Fire Academy, which kind of just helped develop me into player that I am today. And yeah, it was a lot of traveling, a lot of missing out, hang out with friends and school activities and stuff like that. But I was fortunate enough to, at the age of 17, sign my first professional contract with the club. So I don't regret anything in my upbringing in my career. Thankfully, I chose soccer over baseball at the end of the day. But yeah, it's been a crazy ride. There's been as I said, a lot of traveling, missing school. That's been a whole other thing to deal with. I had to transition from in-person school to online school to give myself the best shot at becoming a professional. And those are the type of sacrifices that you have to make if you want to make it to the highest level. And as I said, I have no regrets in that.
Yeah. Shout out to Coach Rich, man. My first coach ever, actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, shout out to Coach Rich. I think you definitely made the right choice, man. Watching your journey just as a friend has been really cool to see. and especially seeing you play not only for the Fire, the hometown team, but of course playing for the Philippines as well. I know that you originally you did commit to Pitt in high school.
Yeah.
When did you come to the decision where you knew like I wasn't going to play in college, or like basically I'm too good to play in college as well?
Yeah, so I had committed to University of Pittsburgh, and that winter following my commitment, I was invited to the first team preseason with the Chicago Fire. I, really didn't have any expectations going into the preseason with them. I was just an young academy player going, to get experience and hopefully prove myself. But at the time, I, wasn't expecting anything from it. Fortunately enough, I had a good enough preseason with them. And at the end, they decided that they wanted to offer me a professional contract. So it was a difficult decision, 100%, because I had a great opportunity at Pittsburgh. They have a really good men's program for soccer. I think in the past 6 or so years, they made it to three college cups, so the Final Four basically for soccer. So yeah, it was tough to decide, but you know, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get
Once in
to
a
play
lifetime opportunity
professional.
to
So
get to play.
um, it was a no brainer for me. And I'm fortunate that I got the opportunity. I went with it. You have to take those opportunities, and um, I still keep in touch a bit with the coach from Pittsburgh. He's a great guy, and he was very understanding of the opportunity. He encouraged me to take it, which I'm very thankful for, because a lot of coaches would try and persuade you to go to college and play with them, but he understood the opportunity that I had and that I couldn't pass it up. So I'm super grateful.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think getting, especially like I know when you get to the high school level, if you're on a certain level, you don't even play there. So like to be able to say even college, like just to go straight there, that's something that also I thought was crazy in itself. So I think soccer definitely works differently than other sports like football and basketball. Obviously, you can't do that. So
100%. Yeah.
kind of how do the academies work when they like figure that out? Like, is it level by age group, or is it they kind of put like high schoolers together?
Yeah. So for soccer, they do it by birth year. Um, so for the longest time, it was like under 14, under 15, but then they started to just group everybody together by. So I'm 2003. So everybody on my team was a 2003, but you did have the opportunity. Let's say you were a 2005 and you were good enough to play with the 2003s, then you could make the jump up. So that's kind of how they did it in academy. But I was lucky enough to play with the 2000s, 2001s. That was a great experience for me to play with older guys and kind of mature my game. But um, we, as our 2003 group, we had a really good team as well. I think on that group, there's probably at least seven professionals now that have had some type of experience in MLS. So yeah, it was a good group that I give a lot of credit to my development and where I am today.
Well, then that makes me think like if you at what were you 17 or 18 when you got your first contract?
17, yeah.
So if you were 17, didn't play in high school, of course, didn't go to college. How good is someone like Lamine Yamal for being basically the best player in Barcelona then at 16? Well, now he's 18, but to be
Yeah.
actually getting with Spain and Barcelona at that age, like as a professional soccer player yourself, what is that like talent like?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another level, man. Like it just shows like there's genuinely levels to this game. Like I watch him play and it looks like a player that's had 10 years of experience, who's probably, you know, maybe 27, 28 years old, but then you look at him and he's only what, 18 years old. So it's crazy, and he's playing at that stage, at that level. He's one of the best players for his national team, for his club. So um yeah, I mean, watching him, it's amazing to see because like I said, he has so much maturity to his game. And as a young player, like, I look at where I was at 17, and then you see where some of these guys are at. It's like, yeah, there's just a whole nother level.
What what are some like intricacies of the game that you can see that making so different as far as Europe to compared to the US? And I know Drew had this question as well. What is like what would you say the difference is? Because a lot of people have been talking about this with the World Cup recently, as far as how US players are brought up and then players in Europe. What would you say is the biggest difference between, well, I'd say not just the talent gap, because in the US you have sports like football, basketball, and even baseball to a degree where those are kind of the talent gets separated from that. But what would you say as someone who has experienced it and seen it from both sides? What would you say the biggest difference is?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, what I've realized over the years is from ages, I would say, like, up until about U13, U14, even sometimes U15. Um, the gap between American players and European players is not that big. I've played in youth tournaments with my club and the national team, and we've played against European sides, South American sides, and the gap isn't that big. We were competing at that point where I think the U.S. starts to slow down, is when it get that 15 to 19 age is where there's a big gap. I think in Europe, they start to fully, like, your whole life is football from 15 to 19. Whereas in the US, it's you have things like there's other sports, there's high school, you know, our academy, even the Chicago Fire Academy, you go to training after school. Whereas in Europe, it's like they have a school just for the soccer players, and they're training twice a day. They're fully immersed in soccer, 24/7. So I think that's where you start to see the difference, because all of the hours, they add up. And I think also it's the culture there. Soccer is the main sport. So, US is definitely growing with soccer, but that's really what most people are aspiring to do in Europe and South America. So when everybody's trying to get to that level, the competitiveness is higher. There's all the best athletes are trying to play soccer, and they're not trying to play football. They're not trying to play basketball and baseball. So I think, more guys are putting all their eggs in one basket with soccer, whereas the US, we have track athletes who may be amazing soccer players if they just dedicated their times to soccer. But because we have all these different sports in the US, guys can choose to go different routes. So I think, yeah, from those later teenage years, it's where you see the gap start to get bigger. But I think the US is getting better at closing the gap. I think we're moving in a good way where soccer is growing a lot. I mean, you're seeing a lot with the World Cup, how much, like, it's grown. All these stadiums are sold out, for even games that like nobody really, it's like Iran and versus Egypt. It's a sold out crowd. So that just shows, like, the game is growing a lot in this country. I think that the gap will, continue to close, as the future goes on.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Great clip, by the way. I just want to say that.
Um, I wanted to ask this summer I work. This is like kind of like just like to get to the question. This summer I worked for
Mm.
CNN, and we got the privilege of interviewing Brianna Scurry. She was the goalkeeper of the 1999 women's team that won the World Cup.
Yep.
And one of the questions we asked her, and I want to ask you the same question, is it is obvious that the U.S. has progressed within soccer. Like our men's national team used to be just basically the MLS All Star team, right? But
Yeah.
now most of these guys play for clubs in Europe.
Mm.
So it's more than just like this is the best of the MLS. No, we are actually making headway in Europe. However, we haven't made it past, we haven't made it to, I think, the quarterfinals
Yeah.
in like 30 years, or
Yeah.
20 years. So, what do you think, we or America needs to do to actually see that, I guess, change, that distinctive change in the World Cup tournament?
That's a fantastic question. I think that's a lot of people are asking that same question right now because as you said, like we haven't made it past the round of 16 for a long time. And even in I think it was 2018, we didn't even make the World Cup.
Mm,
So I think one of the main things that I feel is it starts from our youth development. It goes all the way back to there, and again the soccer culture in the US. As I said before, from a young age in Europe and South America, that's all they know is soccer. And another thing is in those countries it's completely free to play. For if you're good enough for the highest, for the best teams, you're able to play. And they'll take you in and they'll support you and try and give you the best opportunity to make it to the highest level. Whereas in the US, I think a big issue is the whole pay to play system, where you may have somebody that's good enough to be at the highest level, but maybe geographically it's challenging, financially it's challenging for them. So how can we bridge that gap to get all the best players playing with the highest teams and at the highest level, um, and then how can we grow the culture of soccer to make it one of the main sports in this nation, getting all the best athletes. When you see all the countries that are in the final four, it makes sense, because that's all they live and breathe and eat in those countries is just football. So I think that's a big part, but there's obviously the development part and technical aspect. How can we get the best players from our country playing in better leagues? Not to say MLS is a bad league because MLS is a very tough league, and there are great players there. I think it's grown over the past few years like immensely. We're starting to get more big name players in the league, and I mean, you see Messi is now playing in MLS. Even though he's a bit older, I mean, he's still killing it right now. You see it at the World Cup. So, can we grow our domestic league, and then can we get guys playing in the PSGs, the Arsenals, the Man Cities of the world? That's when I think we'll kind of take that next step.
Oh, speaking of that, what are your thoughts on Lewandowski going to the Fire?
Yeah, that's big time. That's definitely big time. He's a proven goal scorer everywhere he's been. So to add somebody of that caliber to the team is going to be great. I think not only for them as a team, but for the fans. Like having a big name player is gonna bring out more fans to the games. He's a Polish guy. There's a good Polish community in Chicago, so having that will help. I think there's nothing but positives from signing him. He'll bring a lot of great experience as well for some of the younger players coming up. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm interested to see how he does, and when he finally settles in, what it's gonna look like.
For sure. Going to a game on Thursday actually. So
Oh,
I don't know if
really?
you see, yeah, but
Nice.
I'm excited to see if he plays.
Yeah,
Hopefully he
hopefully.
does.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask. I have I have two questions, and then I kind of want to get into your journey about with the Philippines national team. But
Okay.
what was like? What would you say is your welcome to the MLS moment, welcome to the pros moment, where you were just like, okay, I'm here. Like it's different.
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I think, okay, I'll go both ways with it. From a, I guess, more negative side, my like welcome to the league moment, I guess, was my preseason fitness test, my first year. I threw up after it and I was so embarrassed. Like, I was like, wow, there's another level of fitness required for this level. So I thought that was just kind of funny. But on the positive end, I think making my MLS debut, um, was probably one of the best moments of my career. My family was there in front of a great crowd, and um, there's so much that led up to that moment in terms of training, travel, hard work, stuff like that. So getting that moment was a huge sigh of relief. But those type of moments only make you more hungry to keep going. It's not something that you achieve and then you just settle with that. You want to continue to grow but yeah, just experience that feeling of having the crowd, the speed of play, being on the field with all those guys was definitely cool.
I remember that when your first debut. I was at school. I was really mad I couldn't go to that game. But that was definitely a very cool moment. My dad was there, I'm pretty sure, right?
The game that I scored.
Yeah, he was definitely
Yeah,
there for that.
yeah, yeah.
And what's that like? That first goal in the MLS as well. Like
Mhm.
even even this weekend, I saw you scored in the you got a game Saturday?
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. On Sunday I just saw you score, so I know that that feeling has still gotta be amazing whenever that happens, especially just to how far you've come.
Yeah, I mean that moment scoring in MLS was another, great feeling for me. And when it happened, it was kind of just like a blackout moment where it goes in and you just don't even know how to react. It was, I think, the 90th minute, 91st minute of the match. So we were down and there was really nothing left to play for but to salvage a point in that game. And yeah, your dad was there, my dad was there, the Campbells, some of our church group friends were there, and family. So um, it was especially nice to do it in front of them, for them to experience that. Just a lot of emotions after the game to see all of them and see how proud they were. So
Um, I know, as we were talking about before internationally, I know that you also were with the U.S. Academy growing up as well. I
mhm.
remember you played in Europe. I think you played in Prague, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
in high school, I think, which is crazy in itself. But what went into your decision? What was that experience like? Being there and seeing how the U.S. does things, and then what made you go and make the switch to the Philippines national team once you got to the professional?
Yeah, so as you said, I grew up from basically under 14 to, I think, under 18-ish, under 16, under 18, one of the two, with the US youth national team. And yeah, those were all great experiences. Like I'm still close with a lot of those guys. Um, and yeah, it was a high level. The U.S. is investing a lot in the youth national teams, and I think trying to again close the gap. So playing in Europe and these big tournaments, I've played in various different countries, so those are all great for my upbringing. And then yeah, when I got to the professional level, US, the squad is just it's another level right now. And Philippines, reached out to me. So it was something that, at first I didn't really know a whole lot about. But in talking with, some of the staff with the Philippines men's national team, and getting to kind of follow their journey, where they're trying to go, it was attractive for me to go and play for them. And obviously, I've had strong connection with my Filipino roots that I'm very proud of, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me to strengthen that. And when I did decide, I was very very proud, and I have no regrets with it because again, some of my best friends are from the national team, and my best memories are from the national team. So being able to experience all those things is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I saw like you guys were trained in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Who were some of, did you guys have, I know you had qualifiers for the World Cup. Who were
yeah.
some of those friendlies against also that when you played? And then I want to ask as someone who's never played against people from other countries, um, what's the language barrier like with the referees and the other players? Because I know everybody's not speaking English. Even probably not everybody on your team is speaking English. So how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we've played a lot of different teams, a lot of different languages. We've been in Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Laos. I mean, all of Southeast Asia we've been in. Even this past year, I was in Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. I mean, those are countries that you don't even like think you would ever visit in your life. And luckily football took me there. But yeah, I mean, I think honestly, be more surprised on how much English is spoken in these games. For certain teams, it's a lot less than others. But most referees, I think, have a good foundation of English. But yeah, I mean, I always say that soccer is an international language. So, everybody just kind of understands what's going on in the game. And in terms of, we don't really speak a whole lot with the other players, unless there's an altercation or a fight or something like that. But yeah, it's cool to see the different cultures, the different cities, and yeah, I've traveling is one of my favorite things to do. And thankfully, football has done that for me for free. So I'm very thankful for those memories. And I've played in, great stadiums with massive crowds. And like, I always play those memories back in my head. And I'll carry them on for my whole life.
Definitely you should. Um,
Mm.
that so like they're not talking. There's not a lot of trash talking in these matches where people may not speak a certain language.
Oh, they will, but it's like I don't know what you're saying, bro. So like, like it's you can't really say anything, but yeah, I mean, I'm a player. I don't talk too much in the game. I kind of just play, try to stay level-headed, but if there's a moment where I need to say something, I'll say something. Whether he can understand me or not, I don't know. It's whatever, but yeah.
I understand. Um, I wanted to, you said that you've gotten to do all this, go to all these countries for free. I would like to think for the US team as well, when you did that, you weren't paying for these trips as well. They don't make the players on the team pay for that as well. As we talk about it just being too expensive. That's not how that works for them either, right?
Correct, yeah. So I think, for most national teams at that level, the federation is covering all the flights, the hotels, the food, stuff like that. So,
Okay, just had to be sure. Because I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie, that would be wild from the US if they did that. That would
Yeah.
put, yeah, it would look a lot worse as far as just the gap and how expensive just well, youth sports in general, but
Yeah.
soccer for sure.
Hmm.
Um, Drew, do you have any more questions about his career? I wanted to ask him about like kind of recap the World Cup and see what his perspective was.
Nah, I was actually thinking about like heading towards the World Cup, so I think we're straight.
Okay, cool, cool. Um, so Alex, what has your perspective been of the World Cup so far? As someone like the most tapped into the World Cup I've been before this one was in 2022. So as
Okay.
someone who has watched it basically their entire life, each one that's happened, what would you say this is one of the more entertaining or one of the better ones in your lifetime?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think, they expanded the amount of teams in the World Cup this year, which I think was to the benefit of a lot of countries. And for neutral viewers, it's been great. You see, teams like Curaçao, Cape Verde, like putting on good performances against some top teams, and it just makes things more exciting. So, you saw a lot of underdogs putting up good fights, which was, again, entertaining for the neutral viewer. So, for me, I've had a lot of fun watching this World Cup. It's kind of sad that it's coming to an end. There was a point for a few weeks there where it was a game every day or two games every day. So, like, I come home from training and it was just World Cup the rest of the day. And it was so entertaining. I just get with the guys, we'd grill or have a cookout, watch games. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I think for me, it's definitely been the best so far. I think some of the ones in the past, I think specifically South Africa is a bit nostalgic. But yeah, it's been very entertaining.
What has been, I guess, out of all the ones, what was like the most entertaining match that you've watched?
Mm, I think Argentina versus Cape Verde was,
Yeah.
for me, the one that stuck with me the most. Just how small of a country Cape Verde is, and they're playing against the champions, Messi, putting up that fight. Like I was so rooting for them to win. I think they got a little bit hard done not to come out of that game with something, but yeah, I was emotional watching it, seeing those guys fulfill their dreams. It's it's crazy to see such a small country that, prior to this tournament, a lot of people didn't even know about, and some of their stories and how they've gotten to this point, this level. There's guys. I think the guy that scored was that crazy tying goal, the second goal. I want to say, like, he worked his way up from like fifth division, all the way up to this point. So, seeing those type of stories is inspiring. And it was 3-2, a lot of action, extra time. It had everything. So, yeah, that was the one that stuck with me the most.
Me too. That was definitely top three most entertaining for sure. Like
Yeah.
I was out and I had it on my phone. I was still watching that goal that Lopez Cabral hit where it
Yeah.
curved in at the
Oh
top.
my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Like as someone who has been in those type of games, how difficult is hitting a shot like that and like how much control do you have to have like as a player? Like there are certain shots where you can even as like a casual fan, it's like
Yeah.
Regular people can't just do that.
No, I mean, I was talking to my family while watching that game. And it was like, from that angle, it's like, who in the right mind is looking to shoot that? Um, and I mean, he did it not just, the shot was very impressive, but that was late in the game. And when you take into things like fatigue and how tired you are and the mental stress of the game to execute that level of like finishing is crazy, because I know how I feel like towards the end of games. Like sometimes your fatigue takes over, the quality of your passes or your shots. But those guys, I mean, they look like so fit. They kept running, they kept fighting, and when he scored that goal, I was going crazy. I was going crazy in my room.
Um, I know. Do you guys during the games you wear the catapult trackers?
Yeah, so this year my team doesn't, but for the past 5 years, I've been wearing the catapult trackers. Yeah.
Um, what would like the numbers be after the game? Like as far as like I'm assuming maybe miles ran or like how
Mhm.
like I know it also tracks like top speed. Like after a full game, does it tell you like how much you ran or like do you remember by any chance?
Yeah, so typically in like a 90-minute match, um, I would say it would be, because I'm trying to convert it because they do it in either kilometers or meters. Um, I would say anywhere from like 7 to 8 miles in a match. But I've done so. What was it? 2 years ago, we had a game in extra time, and I played the full 120 minutes. So I think it was like I ran 15K, 14K in the match. Yeah, it was something crazy. Um, but for me, it's weird because like if you told me to go out on a run right now and do that, I don't think I could. But like in the game, I don't know, it's something different, and I'm able to do it consistently. So yeah, soccer's a lot of running, man, but
That's
it's
OD.
yeah, it's crazy.
15K to miles. Now we have to look at. That's 9 miles. That's almost 10 miles, bro. Y'all
Yeah,
got it. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
That's that's crazy. What also I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Golden Boot race. What with the amount of players scoring, so the just the high frequency of players scoring at such a high amount of goals,
Yeah.
what do you think is the cause of that as that hasn't really happened in years before? Especially, I think like last year, not last year, the last World Cup, the Golden Boot winner was Mbappe, right? I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah.
And he had only 8 goals, and now you see Messi has 8, Mbappe has 8, and you had multiple people getting close to him as well with either 6 or 7. And the World Cups before 2022, the Golden Boot winner had no more than 6. So, what would you say attributes to the high frequency of that many people scoring high amounts of goals?
I mean, it's hard to pinpoint a specific thing that is the cause of it. First of all, they're just great players. Um, I think Mbappe was, 4 years younger and still scoring 8 goals, and now he's 4 years better. And he's where he's at right now. So I think just some of the guys like Mbappe, Messi, Haaland, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, they're all just in tournament mode. You can kind of separate those guys from the rest of the tournament in terms of the quality. They're stepping up in the big moments, and also I think it has a big part of it is the teams they're on. They have guys that are setting them up for good opportunities to score goals. So you look at France, their front three, front four attackers, like they're all just passing the rock to each other and putting each other in good spots. Some of the best players in the world all on the same team. So you would expect that guys like Mbappe and Dembele are scoring a lot of goals, but it's tough, man. These guys are another level. Like I said, there's generally levels to this game that is it's crazy to see them all scoring this amount, this volume, in such competitive games.
Um,
That's crazy. I think, especially France having that level of talent on their front
Mhm.
three. It's
Yeah.
that's really unfair. And I mean, of course, like they're not cheating or anything, but that's really unfair. That's three of the
Yeah.
best players in the world right now. I don't really know how you stop that. And France and Spain play today. Um,
Hmm.
what would you do in that situation? I know Drew, you were about to say something, so I'll let you go too. But what do
no,
you
I
do
was.
like against a team that good? But go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna ask the same question.
Drew,
I was
you
gonna
want?
ask like who do you have today? Like, or not even just who do you have today? Who
Mhm.
do you have coming out at this point? These are the top before the tournament started. These were the top four ranked teams.
Yeah.
These are the teams that made it to the final. So like, who do you have at this point?
From the start, I've been Team France. I just, as Austin said, like, how do you stop Mbappe, Elise,
Mm-hmm.
Dembele? Like, but then you just look at their defense also. It's like you have guys like Saliba in the back. Like their mid, I mean, just their whole team is well balanced. And then you have guys coming off the bench, Barcola, Due. It's like those guys are all starters in any other team in the World Cup. So I think for that reason, it's been France from the start. But if you're Spain today, it's like try and keep the ball as much as possible. I heard somebody today is like, you can't hurt us if you don't have the ball. So I think they're gonna try and do everything as possible to keep possession, try and keep it out of France's hands, and but I still believe that there's they're gonna get their few opportunities and they're gonna take it the way that their offense is moving right now.
And how would you say, as far as France on offense, how can they, if they're playing keep away the whole time, what is the
Mhm.
best way of actually like putting points up? Because as more you move the ball down the field, it's
Mhm.
hard to keep the ball out of harm's way. And
Right.
I did play that kind of style for some of those games, especially like against Portugal, where it was more of a possession game. How do you do that without putting the ball in harm's way and actually trying to still put points on the board?
I think, these guys on France are experienced enough to know that there's going to be moments where they don't have the ball. But they have enough quality that when they do win the ball, I think they'll also try and play possession and keep it. But I think the one thing that separates France from everybody else is they can play like counterattack football where
Mm-hmm.
it may only take two, three passes and they're ending up scoring a goal, which is the beauty of their team. They can play nice possession football, but if a team turns the ball over, all it takes is one ball in behind to Mbappe, and he's putting your team to bed. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a bit of a chess match for sure. But I'm excited to watch.
Me too. Me too.
Moving to tomorrow, we
Mm,
have obviously England versus Argentina. Argentina's had a lot of close calls. They have a lot of people who I consider, who Austin considers, and I don't know if you consider, but the greatest football player of all time. But they've had a lot of
mm,
close calls. They were literally Egypt was the better team for 79 minutes
100%.
until they let three goals be scored in 11. But all that being said, and also I don't know what to make exactly of this England team. Jude Bellingham has
Mm,
been fantastic. Harry Kane has been pretty good. But also some guys, some important guys like Declan Rice haven't been healthy. Bukayo Saka, my guy, hasn't been healthy.
Of course, of course.
Um, so, what do you make of this Argentina England matchup?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I don't think Argentina has come up against an opponent of this strength throughout the
Mhm.
whole tournament. Um, that my perspective is they've kind of had an easy route to the final. Not to take away anything they've done, but as you said, they've had a lot of close calls against Cape Verde, versus Egypt. So it'll be interesting to see how they come up against an England side. But as you said, they're a bit difficult to figure out right now. I don't know how to feel exactly about them. They have big players that can make plays in the big moments. You have Harry Kane, you have Bellingham, but in terms of an identity and cohesion, I don't necessarily have seen it so far. Um, so yeah, it's a bit of a coin flip because I think Argentina, it's very clear how they play. Um, and all those guys, they die for Messi out there. They'll run, they'll tackle, and even if he's not defending, it's like, they have two, three guys that are going to help him out. And once he gets the ball, anything can happen. So yeah, I'm excited. It's another chess match for sure, and I think last game for England may have been a wake up call. I think they didn't put in the best performance, but I'm sure Tuchel, the head coach, will address some of the things that will need to be addressed. And my hope is that Rice is healthy, Saka is starting in a perfect world. I think, yeah, I think with all their best guys playing, I think England, for me, will take it, but we'll see.
I just looked up Jude Bellingham. I thought he was born in '02, so he's been a
Nah.
pro for, and he's only a year older than me, bro.
Yeah, he looks like he's 28 too. Like,
He does. Like it's so
like,
funny that that one
yeah,
clip of like, oh yeah, you call me 28, you just aged me 7 years. You do look like you're 28.
yeah. I mean, like physically, he's on another like to be that big and physical, but also technical. It's like, yeah, there's a reason why he's playing at the level that he's at right now. You know.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like he was up for the Ballon d'Or a couple years ago. He's won a Champions League already, like,
Hmm.
and he's only a year older than me, bro. That just made me sad, but also
Yeah,
respect him more.
yeah,
Also respect
100%.
him that good.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, as Drew said, we talked about he just said since we were talking about Argentina, and we both said that Messi was our GOAT. Do you agree, or who do you have in that conversation between him and Ronaldo?
Yeah, I think Messi's the GOAT. Um, you know, with the World Cup, everything that he's won and done in his career, I think it's hard to deny. That being said, I'm not absolutely not a Ronaldo hater. I love Ronaldo, his mentality. I think a lot of people hate on him, but if you look at the longevity of his career, to be doing what he's done for so long, he kind of has that MJ Mamba mentality. Like I think when it comes to big moments and showing up, so I respect his career a lot. But I think when it comes down to just the goat, you have to say Messi.
For sure. Um, and I think I've been tapping into more of prime Ronaldo. I don't
Mm,
hate it when people say it. Like accomplishments aside, like it's you just go off straight eye test, like what you
mm,
saw. I can definitely understand it. Like he did some insane stuff. They both did. But prime Ronaldo, I'm not gonna lie, his clips. I can definitely understand like the cult fan base that he has.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, like growing up at a young age, I was always watching like Ronaldo highlight reels. Um, but then I think as I grew up and matured more, then I started to appreciate Messi's game more and what he was doing. But yeah, I have massive respect for both of those guys.
Sure.
Yeah. I think with like a lot of like with the GOAT conversation and the way like people kind of talk about Ronaldo, they kind of forget that he still is like, even though he might not be the GOAT, he is still like easily the second greatest football player to ever play the game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean,
Hmm.
and even Austin said it at his peak. That's four Champions Leagues in 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a three-peat
Yeah.
in Champions Leagues. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah. It's undeniable. He's one of the greatest to play, so can't take anything away from him.
Sure. Would you say that someone, besides those two, who is someone that when you grew up, you tried to model your game after?
Hmm. Um, for me, it was actually Eden Hazard. Um,
Mm,
he's a bit of a smaller player, so similar to myself. Who I thought technically in his prime, you can put him in conversations that, you know, he's one of the greatest out there. Um, I think of his prime Chelsea days, he was hard to beat. On his day, he could show up and drop two or three on you and walk out of there. So he's somebody that I model my game. Um, because as I said, he's a smaller player, uses his body well, he's quick, good low center of gravity, and he's used it to his advantage. So I think a lot of the things that he did, I tried to put into my game. I think especially the 20 what was it? I think it was a 2022 World Cup or 2018. I'm trying to remember what his last World Cup was. Um, I think he had a game versus France and Brazil where he was literally untouchable. Like
mm.
anytime he got the ball, nobody could touch him. So yeah, that was somebody that I try and emulate my game.
For sure. I that's a it's funny you said him because I remember using him a lot in FIFA as a kid. So
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
he was really like that for sure.
yeah.
I wanted to ask um kind of a last question. I know not everybody in soccer is ambidextrous, like they can't use it's difficult for some people to use their off foot, like their non-primary foot. Can you
Hmm.
like give a little bit of background on the players on who are skilled enough to make certain moving shots on both legs, on both feet, or just being able to incorporate that into your game and the difficulty of that.
Yeah, it's tough. I know there's a few players out there where like naturally they're just kind of born ambidextrous and it's easy for them to use both feet. For myself, it's something that I've had to work for. I spend a lot of time. I'm primarily a righty, but I would say my left foot is in a good spot. Definitely not one to one with my right, but there was a lot of times where I might have a ankle injury with my right or something, muscle injury in my right, and I would just use my left. I would juggle with my left. I would shoot with my left. That was kind of the different ways that I would try and work on my left foot, going to the field and shooting, passing, whatever it was to work on my left foot. But it's something that is it's a great tool to have because you can be more versatile in terms of your positioning. You can play on the right, left, down the middle, and taking set pieces, free kicks, corner kicks. It can be a big asset. So it's a tough thing to master, but I think I've done a fairly good job. Working on it over the years.
Sure. Is that something you would say the players at the highest level all have, or that's still something that just some people just cannot do?
I wouldn't say they all have it, because you do see players that are very left-footed, or very right-footed at the highest level, but those players, like, they know that they're only good at that, and they're also untouchable with that. But I think overall at the highest level, guys are all pretty comfortable with both feet, getting out of tight situations, shooting, all of those things. So it's definitely, I think it's something that you need. But there are exceptions out there. I think Messi, like, I think he has a good enough right foot, but he's also very left-footed. You don't see him using his right a lot. Um, so yeah, there are exceptions out there.
That's interesting to hear. I wanted like more of the technical side of it because definitely I know even juggling, just juggling a ball with either foot, I know it's very difficult. So to see people like Mbappe or Dembele come off
Mm.
and they can do it with either foot is ridiculous to me. Like as I've gotten older, I've respected the skill of the sport a lot more and like just how difficult things are. And I kind of feel the same way about baseball. It's like as you get older, you see how hard it is to track the pitch and things like that. And the same
Yeah.
way to me with soccer, like just how the accuracy of getting the kicks through, how hard they're kicking the ball, that, and I know like I could say comfortably, I can't do that. So I res much respect to anybody and everybody who is on that level, especially you, man, and to see your journey has been very cool. And definitely want to see you continue, bro. And I'm excited to see what's next to come.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Um, Drew, do you have any other questions?
I only have one. Only have one.
Okay.
Um, we are the World Cup final is here, and ironically, a lot of the guys who, or not final, semifinal, a lot of the guys who are in the conversation for best player in the world play in the next 48 hours. Mbappe, who was probably the best goal scorer on the planet right now. Um, uh, Dembele, who is going for his second Ballon d'Or in 2 years. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, Lamine Yamal, who is 18 years old. And then obviously guys like Messi and even Olise, right? So I guess my question to you is, coming from a professional mind, who do you think currently is the best player in the world?
Uh, Man, I think 'cause it's hard just to judge, because I'm right now I'm just looking at the World Cup, who's been the best
Mm-hmm.
player of the World Cup. But if we're looking about maybe the past year, um, I would I would say Dembele. Um, I think not just his goal scoring, not just his assist. I think the way that he leads PSG, as a captain, his defensive work rate, the way that Luis Enrique has gotten him to press the ball and lead the team. I think all those things taken into consideration, on top of him winning Champions League and being in a good spot with France right now, I think that makes him, um, the best right now. But of course, Messi is the GOAT. Right now, I think Mbappe is the best player in the tournament right now. You have guys like Bellingham that are not too far off. So, and even Olise, he's shown incredible growth over the past 2 years, from coming from Crystal Palace to what he's done at Bayern, and now in the World Cup is crazy. So, yeah, all these players, it's very tight, very tight.
It's been I'm glad the World Cup has opened like exposed me to new players. Like I hadn't heard of Elise actually before the
Mm-hmm.
World Cup. So I'm glad it exposed me to that. And I know since Mbappe he left PSG and they won the Champions League twice since he's gone to Real Madrid. This is my last question. Why do you think, with all the talent that they have on Real Madrid, that they haven't, that it hasn't necessarily worked for them? And then with Mbappe, a player of his caliber leaving PSG, they've
Mhm.
technically gotten better, definitely done better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you look at the two teams side by side. I think PSG is more of a team. The cohesion, the way they play together, players understanding their roles, and I don't think anybody there thinks they're bigger than the team. And then when you look at Real Madrid, I think you have a lot of personalities and maybe egos. You have guys like Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe who are both trying to be, the star of the team. And even Bellingham. I think the team cohesion isn't quite there, and you know, player for player, I think overall PSG just has a better squad than Madrid right now. I don't think Madrid has one of the stronger teams in Europe. Um, but I think if you can start to build a team around, Bellingham and Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., guys that will play together, then they'll be on a closer level to PSG. But as a team, the way that PSG understands the way that they play in each other's roles, I think they've benefited from Mbappe going to Real Madrid.
That hurts to hear, but it makes sense. Would you say that they're just top heavy, or like it's more of they just people, everybody is trying to be the top three guys are trying to be the star?
Um, I think it's a bit of a mix. Again, I don't think their squad is great right now, especially their defense. I think they struggled a lot defensively in the Champions League and even in La Liga at points. They have those core three players. Now it's about building a group around them that can, defend well, keep the ball well. Um, but when you have big players like that, they can take over games. So I think they'll be straight. They have a new coach, Jose Mourinho, coming in. I think that's also been a bit of a factor. They haven't had so much stability and coaching and stuff like that. So hopefully he can bring the best out of them. And yeah, we'll see.
Definitely. I hope they. I want to see. I saw a lot of before the World Cup. I saw a lot of smut on Mbappe's name. They were saying that they were worse without him and stuff like that. So I'm glad we got to. He's performed like he has today. I mean,
Yeah.
he has in the tournament. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I wanna see them. I want to see him win. So that's that's something that I wanted to get your insight on. But
Mhm.
Drew, if you don't have any more questions, um, we can wrap this up.
Nah, man. Thank you, Alex, for being on the pod, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. It's been this is a great episode. We have a ton of clips. I feel like this is gonna be a good one for sure. So we really appreciate your time, man. Um, this has been the breakdown. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm Austin Johnson,
I'm Drew Covington.
and shout out to Alex Monis, man. Good luck the rest of the season, and we really appreciate you guys for tuning in. We out.